Today, we're going to be talking about the top 3 biggest mistakes that estheticians make in the industry when they open their business. So the first one that we're going to be talking about is investing when you're not ready. We all get imposter syndrome or that wasn't the right word, imposter syndrome. I mean, we do get imposter syndrome, but FOMO in the industry or bringing on things too soon when we're not ready. Maybe we don't have the right clientele for certain devices or even products. And then the product just sits there. It's money on the shelves, right? So that is one of the biggest things that I see in the industry. And then you're kind of just having things sit or things aren't selling because number one, you don't have a clientele for it because your current clientele isn't interested in the services, or number two, you're just not ready because you're not getting a lot of new clients in the door.
Yeah, we had this question somebody just asked in our Estheticians growth network on Patreon, and they were asking if they should bring on a hydrofacial machine. And I thought it was, those questions I always get like really overwhelmed because I know there's a lot of power in our responses. And I know we're pretty much on the same page. We're locked in with what we believe and how we believe people should do things. But I think there's two types of people when it comes to investing and over purchasing or purchasing things in general. So yeah, for one, I do agree there is way too much FOMO. People are buying things just to buy them. But I also think there's a lot of people that are too afraid to purchase things that they probably should. And I think that it's okay to be nervous and it's okay to take things slow. But yeah, so I guess I'm kind of going off on a little bit tangent on there. So I'm agreeing and kind of disagreeing with you all at the same time. But I do believe, just to make sure that, we're not contradicting ourselves, I do completely agree that I do think people overbuy things because of FOMO, because everyone posts about something, especially products, I think.
Yeah, and I think too, you have to look at where you're at. So if you're like, ooh, I have like 3 different devices and I want to bring on one more, are you putting yourself in a bad financial decision just because you want to bring it on? Or is this the first device that you're bringing onto your practice? Because I completely agree with that case, is that like, don't be afraid to invest in your business, but also, if you're not ready or you're not in the right mindset or even financial position, there's a point where if you know yourself and you're like, no, I'm a go-getter, I'm going to invest in this machine and it's going to work out because that's what we did, versus if you're more of a safe person that's like, okay, let me look at my business. I'm a little bit more practical. Do I have the clientele for it? Am I truly ready? Am I mentally prepared that I have to make this $1,000 or more payment? So those are obviously 2 things to consider, because I do agree with you. I mean, that's what we did, but that's why you said there is so much power in what we say, because it really is case by case. So that's why it's nice to give those 2 scenarios of 2 different people in business.
Yeah, don't make the mistake and not invest in your business either, right? I think there's 2 very far extremes there of people that over leverage themselves and they buy way too much because they think they need it all to be successful. Then there's people who are limiting their success and growth because they're not investing themselves and their business. And in my opinion, we talk about mindset a lot, and I think belief in themselves is one of the biggest errors and things that slows down growth in business, or sometimes explosive growth in business. It's as silly as it may be, sometimes that investment in that big machine or that big product line is what's going to make your business. And now, yes, it would be a make or break at that moment because you're over invested, but there's a certain belief in yourself. And, we've talked to people about this before. When you just dabble in business, you're going to get dabbling results, right? I don't know. That's probably a better way to say that. I hope that makes sense for everybody. But it's one of the things that helped us get to success quicker. And now we've also made mistakes because we do, we're very passionate. This business is everything to us and we love what we do. And so sometimes we can go, whoa, let's dial back that a little bit, dial back the spending a little bit. Let's take a little step back, especially with Optimized Aesthetics over the past, year. We've really dove in head first, and I don't regret anything. But financially, you could argue that maybe, we didn't need like 6 trips. We could have done like 4, right? But I think those big business decisions that you go, this isn't a hobby anymore. It's not a side project. This is my business. This is my passion. This is my life. This is my retirement. This is the knowledge I'm going to pass down to my kids, right? This is what's going to change my family tree forever. And when you view it that way, when you look at a big investment, if it's your first big product line, or if it's a big device, your first device, you need to see it that way, because then when you get that device and you bring it on, you're not going to immediately crumble when you think about that payment coming out. And for us, when we invested in hydrofacial, initial. We did have some clients, so it wasn't like we opened the business and immediately brought it on, but we didn't have more than maybe, 10 really loyal clients that were consecutively coming in every single month. I mean, we were only 6 months in, a little bit less in the business. And we had a lot of new clients, but not everybody was going to switch over to hydrofacial. But what we did is we believed if we brought that machine on, we were going to pour so much more into our business. We were going to fight to get that thing booked. Yeah. And that's the mindset that changes when you make those big purchases.
Yeah. And I also think you have to look at yourself as an esthetician. Do you feel like you've perfected the client experience? Because that is truly what can make or break your business. You could have any device in the world, but if you don't perfect the client experience, that's what's going to set you back more than anything. Because, and I'm really happy for those estheticians that graduate school and go right into it. Like that's definitely a go-getter in some ways of where they're like ready. But also I've seen a handful of estheticians that just get a device, but they haven't perfected the education or the client experience. And clients can feel that. They can feel the confidence. They can feel, the lack thereof, or they can feel the, extreme confidence that you have in the treatment room. So I think you should really look at your business first and those little tiny details of the client experience that really do come together for people to trust you, because no one's going to get their first hydrofacial if they don't feel confident in you as a provider. So you really have to think about that aspect as well. Are you timid in the treatment room? Are you confident in the treatment room? These are things that you should constantly be thinking and practicing. When I first started, I always tell this story is that I practiced with Chris. I practiced so many times, and yes, it hurt my feelings sometimes that, I wasn't the best in the treatment room. I wasn't asking the right questions. I wasn't making people feel comfortable. But the more that I practiced and really honed in my expertise and who I was, my little spiel, so it becomes natural every single time with my consultations, with, the interaction with the clients every time they come in. I'm remembering those little details that they went on a trip, that they, it was their daughter's first birthday. So really just, again, I think it's important, unless you perfected that client experience first, I think that's what's really going to set you apart when you're, when it comes to investing in devices.
Yeah. And wrapping up just going back to your first topic, because I went off onto the device thing, about FOMO and about purchasing things before you're ready. That statistic that, we always hear like the 50% of business failed in the first 2 years, but I read a number recently, like in the first 5 years, it's like 70 or 75% of businesses fail. And for this, sometimes hard for me to comprehend, but it's not always that they just fail, but a lot of people pivot. And so I think when it comes to FOMO and seeing what other people are doing in the space, there's a lot of people have been in this industry. We haven't even been in business for 7 years yet, right? Not to say, we're holding on strong so far, but we're still in that 7-year period of 70% of us are going to go down. So when we're watching what everybody else is doing online, a lot of estheticians in the space are not 7 years in business yet. And it doesn't necessarily mean that their businesses are going to crumble. That could also mean that they sell them off or they pivot and go start a different business because it's not as profitable. They get burnt out, right? And all those things you should take into account when you're making business decisions for yourself. And, where did we just talk about this? In the last podcast? Yeah, I think we mentioned on the last podcast of just focusing on yourself, or maybe it was the one before that. Sorry. But just focus on yourself and handling your business and not being so observant and a bobblehead to everything else going on in the industry. And it's okay to learn from others and watch what they're doing and how they're doing it, but making sure you're not copy and pasting. That was 2 podcasts. No business
is ever going to look the same.
That was 2 podcasts ago, right?
So,
yeah, because that was a banger. If you guys haven't heard that one, go back. It was not last week's.
If you see a bunch of comments that say focus, I think it was 2 podcasts
2 podcasts ago. But it was an amazing conversation. That's why I want to make sure people can go back and watch that one. But focus on yourself and your business. Stop looking at what other people bring on all the time. And Victoria used to really struggle with this. And because you're an esthetician, there's so much new cool technology or fun new products, especially when things like color science got really big over the past couple years, especially in the online space. And then Anfisa bombs are huge. And I know you love the products, but are we ready to bring them on in business? And there's 2 complete different things where I'm like, Victoria, you can wear Anfisa every single day. You can love the product. Does not mean that we're ready to take on that big investment and start really trying to push a new product that way.
For instance, I really I have a few clients that do know of the Anfisa bomb, and I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not ready to carry it like retail wise, but one thing that I did do is I opened up an affiliate account with them so that I don't have to physically carry the product, but I can send people to them and still make money. So if you know that there's a product or a line that you really enjoy, try taking that route first. You don't always have to like physically sell it. Like, yes, of course, physical is, you know, a lot of times better when you know that like it's in person and they can buy on the spot, but don't feel obligated if you're like, oh my gosh, everybody else is carrying it, why am I not carrying it? Or everybody else is selling it. Like, I don't know, it's so easy to look and think like, oh yeah, well, what if I sell? Or, you know, of course I want everybody to like go in the mindset that they're going to sell it. But I think that in the industry, we have this pressure where we invest a lot in retail. And I think the last episode or 2 episodes again that I talked about was, you know, retail is amazing opportunity for you to make money, but it's also money that's sitting on the shelf. So if you're somebody that's, you know, purchasing these huge orders, which is great if you can, but if you're also like at a point where you're like, why am I? Like, look at your business and think like, am I placing like orders that are too big or, you know, products that I don't need? Because it's so important, you know, that's literally money on the shelf.
Yeah, if stuff's sitting on your shelf for 3 months, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's bad. You're not being responsible by purchasing stuff that's sitting there for 3 months. It means it's not selling.
Yeah.
Right. And of course you could be responsible. Like, you know, like I said, maybe 3 months, but like maybe 3 or 4 months. It seems like, you know, that's where stuff's sitting for a long time. If at the end of 3 or 4 months, you still have 4 or 5 products and you ordered, you know, 10 of them, it's not very good. That's a product that should be getting off the shelf a little bit more.
Yeah.
I have a business idea. I'm going to jump in really quickly as you were talking about the affiliate. Because I was just thinking about like most companies do have affiliates now, which is amazing. But I'm like, what if we can build some kind of like system where estheticians can be affiliates to each other? So if like, you know, an esthetician that sells a product, you don't have to go sign up for an Epicurious affiliate account. You can already have like an affiliate with that esthetician. So you're like, hey, I'm going to send my client to buy right from you. And then you just that esthetician will send you 10% of it. Because then they get a new customer and you can still get that 10%. And then it's also like you're supporting another esthetician, you know, compared to just going to the company. Because not that we can't support these companies, but if you could, you'd rather support a small business than the big business.
Yeah.
That'd be a really difficult thing to put together. I just thought, I'm like, man, that'd be a cool idea if somehow we can get the estheticians together. Because a lot of times it's what we do. It's like, oh, you can find somebody local who can go buy that from, because I'm not going to open up this account.
But why wouldn't
even though
somebody just open up their own account?
If you don't want to if not all the companies have affiliates, right? So some of these major skincare companies don't offer just affiliates. Like you don't have a color science affiliate if you don't carry color science. But if you want to send clients over to another esthetician to buy products, that esthetician
if anybody wants to take that on,
would then give you 10%. Yeah. Anyways, it's already confusing for you, so maybe not a good idea. But okay, I think we can wrap that up because I think that's enough on the FOMO thing. But it is something really important, and we've talked about it a lot because we see a lot of estheticians make that mistake. Is because a handful of big estheticians in the space, including yourself sometimes, bring on a product, it gets a lot of hype and people go and buy it when they don't have the clientele to sell that product yet. And it's just...
I learned that in the beginning.
Yeah, we made that mistake ourselves. That's why we could teach from it. But okay, point number 2.
Okay, point number 2 is being the jack of all trades. I feel like we've talked about this in many podcasts, but we've never truly, I don't believe, centered on this topic in a podcast. But being the jack of all trades is a big no-no because nobody's going to ever see you as the expert that you are. Yes, you can be an anti-aging corrective, you know, acne specialist, but you really need to, if you're somebody that like is into corrective skincare treatments, I wouldn't have on your bio corrective skincare treatments plus waxing, laminations, brow. You know, like I truly believe that you should have those as an option, but don't market it as like the jack of all trades, because again, you can still offer those add-ons or, you know, those services, but don't focus on, you know, being the jack of all trades. Like figure out what you want people to know you as, because if I'm looking for somebody for corrective skincare, and you have brows all over your page, I'm not going to book with you. So really just focus on your marketing. And if you're going to your page, what would people know you as?
Yeah, I'm going to hurt you guys' feelings for a minute. If you're doing this, most people are doing this because they're scared. It's easier to offer everything because you don't ever have to say no to any money, and it's a mindset shift. Your mindset needs to shift. You need to trust yourself. You need to trust your business and dive into something that you know you're passionate about. You know you can solve a problem for a potential customer, and you're limiting yourself. You think you're doing more for your business by offering more, but really you're doing less. And the biggest problem with that is, you have the overhead cost of keeping everything in, and then number two, you're not finding the dream clientele who are going to come in and see you consistently. And the biggest problem it really comes down to is, like I just mentioned, if you can solve a problem for a potential client, they don't know you can solve that problem. So at the end of the day, you're not doing what you set out to do to start this when you started your business, right?
Yeah.
Most of us, when we started this business, it's because we were passionate about something. We wanted to help somebody with something specifically, but then you jump in business and somebody goes, "Do you do waxing?" And you go, "Well, yeah, I learned waxing in school." And they go, "Well, did you do brows?" "Well, yeah, I've done my sister's brows, my mom's brows. I learned that in school too." And they just start to offer everything because you don't want to say no to all the money.
And from personal experience, when we first opened up Skin by You, I remember I was so desperate for clients, and somebody asked me, I wanted to focus on facials, but somebody asked me, do you offer waxing? And there was literally in that moment, I was like, "Chris, should I bring on waxing?" And it would be like so ridiculous because I would be so unhappy now.
Victoria put the waxing pot in the Amazon account multiple times because and there was a handful of clients asked for it.
Yeah. And it's just a scare. Like, you're just scared. And so, for you to remove that one service that one potential client could book, just think about all the endless opportunities that can come if you are focusing on, this is where niching down comes from. And again, you don't have to only be an acne specialist, but corrective skincare, for instance, is it's kind of like that umbrella of anti-aging, acne, corrective treatments. And then you have your waxing, which is obviously like a separate part of the aesthetics industry, in my opinion. So just make sure that if you're looking at yourself in 5 years, do you want to be doing brows and laminations all day, or do you want to do facials? If you want to do more facials, but you still want that mix of brows, just offer it in the treatment room. There's people that are going to ask that. They're going to be like, "Oh, do you also do waxing?" I have people all the time. And I'm like, "No, you don't want me to do your brows. Like, I promise I would mess up your brows. Like, you wouldn't have twins. You'd have complete opposite sisters."
Yeah. And I think when I look at people like Miracle, who does brow laminations, or not brow, she does brows. I don't know what the difference between lamination and regular brow is, but she still is, her brand feels like a corrective skincare specialist, and the brows are also there. It's kind of on top of it. And when she posts her schedule a day, she still has tons of people coming for brows. I think she really loves doing brows. She really focuses on brows on TikTok, and she gets a lot of clients, I think, from TikTok with brows. But when you look at her, she still is pushing the hydrofacial the most. And we've followed her for years now, and we could kind of see. And she'll be on the podcast hopefully in February when she comes out for the event. And I'd love to talk to her about that because she is very strategic the way she posts. And I know she does think of things all the way through. And it's somebody that I can see successfully does corrective skincare treatments, but also does brows. And she must love doing both. And I'm curious to how, not that you can't do everything. And, we give these tips. You can come out the other side by doing everything. It just makes it a lot more difficult, and it could take a lot longer.
And I will say that her brand feels premium. So, really focus on I know that it's something that takes practice. It can be a little bit hard, and you're like, well, I do have good lighting. I do have good, poses, but perfect that premium feel on your page. So I see all the time people posting a before and after brow, and I'm like, it just doesn't I don't know, it just doesn't have the right lighting, and you may think that you're working on that, but go to Miracle's page and see the before and after.
It's Miracle the Esty, right?
Yeah, Miracle the Esty.
Yeah, so she's a good one. Go look and see how often she posts brows too. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it's a lot less than she's posting her corrective treatments and hydrofacial and things like that. Yeah. Because that's what she wants. But if you go to her
page, it's very well put together, and you can see that it's professional. There's high quality photos on there. Her before and afters of her brows are great. She, throw some personality in there. I think I completely agree that she's a perfect example of a mix of both, of offering but also not being known as just brows.
Yep.
Now the third thing that I want to talk about, which ties into being the jack of all trades, is you're never going to attract your dream clientele if you're the jack of all trades. And you will also never attract your dream clientele, and you'll be in a constant circle if you offer dirt cheap prices. Now, again, this is the third topic that we're going to talk about. So it's okay to have offers. It's okay to have, a fun, seasonal treatment, or, maybe like, combo that you're offering for, a little bit of a discounted price, adding more value. But also your marketing is huge. You don't want to say, free. You want to say complimentary. You don't want to make your marketing sound cheap to attract a cheap clientele. And then also offering like anything below $99. We always scream about this. You'll never attract your dream clientele. Maybe you'll have like one or two that comes in, but typically you're not getting a premium clientele when you offer cheaper services. I know that this might, twist some people the wrong way, but it truthfully is how I built my dream clientele. I am able to work 2 days a week, and I make over $100,000 a year with the premium clientele that I currently have with this model. So I don't offer anything under $100. I would suggest, anybody having minimum $150 treatments at facials.
Yeah. To compare this to something that would help, I think, a lot of estheticians, look at our own industry. But if you look at when you go get your hair done, we could talk about like people posting on Facebook, like looking for a cheap hairdresser. And the people who go and do that, who are going out seeking a cheap hairdresser, the type of client they are is they don't get their hair done very often. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to spend a lot of money on it. They might only be going once a year. Maybe they don't prioritize constantly getting their hair done. So because of that, which seems confusing because you'd think the more you go in, the cheaper price you want. But the people who take it really serious, people who are constantly getting blowouts, or constantly trimming their hair, or have to color their hair very often, they're looking for somebody who is good, and they respect when they go to somebody, they want a good job done, and they will pay whatever. They're not posting on Facebook going, who's the cheapest around. And the same thing for facials. When you go into Facebook groups and you see people looking for affordable microneedling, they just found out about microneedling and they think it's fun. Somebody on TikTok or somebody on Facebook or their cousin said they got amazing results there with microneedling, but they don't fully understand the value. They don't fully understand the expertise it takes an esthetician to do it. So they're looking for a cheap option most likely aren't going to come back. And I think people all the time, I'm sure, we've got this a lot, this fear of when we tell people to raise their prices. And I know some people believe that, skincare should be affordable for all and everyone should be able to afford it. And, I don't disagree. I think home care, we always talk about, is the most important. But when it comes to your treatments, you want people to take it serious and take their skincare like just take everything it's serious. And I think that's where those low prices attract people who are not going to come back every single month. They're looking for a one-off fun treatment or they're looking for overnight results. It's the same thing when it comes to weight loss. Nobody goes into the gym and expects to lose all their weight on one treatment. Right?
And you'll even notice too, if you think of like, people from all the way from free, let's say all the way up to $300, the people who invested, in the free version, they'll never typically understand the value, like giveaways, right? We talked about that in the last podcast too. Giveaways, people never understand the value. Then somebody invests, let's say $50. They dip their toes in, right? Now you offer $100, they might no-show you, to be honest, because they are not like truly like investing. They don't respect like, the value of that, or even you. Watch your cancellations and your no-shows like literally decrease. I can't tell you the last time that I had a no-show or somebody that no-show, or what did I say?
Cancel, just
or cancellation. So watch your cancellation and that percentage dramatically decrease. But if you're talking about somebody who's coming in for that $250 to $300 facial, they're invested. They're like, I paid my deposit, or maybe I put a card down to book this appointment. It feels premium. They're excited. They understand that when they book it, it's expensive, and that they're investing, their time and their money into that. And until I raised my prices, I didn't realize the value that people perceive your prices with value and the experience that we're going to get. I always think of like, Nordstrom versus Macy. I want to shop at Nordstrom because it feels more high quality, a better experience. The client interaction when you're, with the employees versus Macy's, you just go in, everything looks discounted. Some things may feel cheap. I'm sure that they get higher returns. It's just like a completely different marketing and different type of clientele that you're attracting. I'm sure, I'm sure there's great things at Macy's, of course, but like truly, what do you want to, be known as, and what type of people do you want to attract when you're starting your business?
And when you charge more, you can give more to clients. You can offer more, and that's just across the board.
And you can invest more in your business.
Exactly. That's what I always say. You can invest in more education and higher education. You can bring on new devices. These are all the things that high-paying clients want anyway, and they want to give you more money so that you can better give them better results. And it's just like the thing about Nordstrom being more expensive. Nordstrom's been weird lately with their return policy. They've messed. I don't know what they've done. They changed the commission where they make you feel uncomfortable when you return. But Nordstrom's big thing always is that you can return anything whenever, whatever you want. Like, and they opened up the doors to returns because they knew they were going to attract a better clientele. It makes people feel more comfortable when buying. They don't feel this pressure. There's no regret, right? Because they know they can return it if they need to. And the reason why they do it is that they know most of those people are not going to return the items. They're just so happy, whatever, I'll just move on, right? Yeah. They know they can attract a certain type of customer. And the same thing with your business is that when you pay those high prices, you can open up policy more to be able to give discounts on products. Sometimes you can give away, add-ons for free or add more to people or upgrade people's appointments.
With your products though, because once a product is open, it's done. So
yeah, but even then, like we charge high prices where if a client needs to they say something doesn't work or we don't need to freak out about the business because the high prices cover us from when things like that happen. We could just say, hey, just keep that one in here, switch it out for this.
Taking advantage, you guys. Like that's the biggest thing is that when you have these higher prices, it's not people who are like, dipping their toes in, maybe they can't afford it or they think it's fun and then they buy the product, then they're having buyer's remorse. When you have higher prices, you have people who understand the value and you don't get people like that. I mean, maybe once in a while you will, but like I am so confident in what I recommend and what my clients like how they perceive the value. Like I don't get like one-offs of people being like, oh my gosh, that sounds so nice. Like, no, they're like, hey, why is, I'll explain to them why it's good for their skin. And, you don't get that hesitation where they're like, I'll think about it. They're like, oh, okay, great. If you think that this is right for my skin, no problem. I'll invest in, the $100 something trio. So you get less return, you get people who understand the value. That's the biggest problem that I see in the aesthetics industry.
Just listing those things out I think is also important, where you said we rarely ever get no-shows besides there's a handful of clients every once in a while they're a little bit of a headache, and we fired a lot of them, but we've barely gotten any over the years. We rarely get last minute cancellations. It's always reschedules, and it's within the week for them because they highly respect you and they respect your time, right? They want to get in ASAP. We've never gotten a chargeback before, which we see that all the time of the chargebacks, and we've almost never gotten returns. The returns are only ever typically acne clients who've had product issues with skin and freaking out.
This is also from experience, just so you guys don't think we're crazy. I actually did get in the beginning, I did get like a number of returns or people requesting returns in the beginning. And it was when I was offering specials. Like when I first opened, I was so desperate. I had to buy one, get one free facial, which kept the doors open. And then I had my $100 fall facial. And during those moments is when I had the most returns or return requests. And me, owning my own business and being like, oh my gosh, this hurts.
A lot of times the money was already spent and they asked for a return a few days later.
I know, and I'm like, I just paid my phone bill with that money.
Went towards rent, but
like truthfully, you will see a big difference in the value that people get. And I promise you, again, this is not just being like, I'm going to charge this number and it is what it is. Like, I'm worth this. It's like, I understand your worth, but like, no, it's not that at all. You're still pouring into your clients. You're pouring into people. You're loving on people. You're investing in people. You're following up with your clients. It's the whole experience that people get, and the love and the care and everything that comes with Skin by You. It's, again, you know, if I know that someone's struggling with their skin, you know, I've given them a free acne treatment before, you know, I've given them a free product. I am constantly finding ways to like reinvest in my clients and make it feel personable instead of this big discount that I'm, you know, online giving to every single person. So find those ways that you can really make your clients feel special and investing in those little tiny things. Higher prices comes with higher care. So just remember that you're not just like, oh, gonna raise my prices, I'm gonna automatically get all these people in the door and they're gonna come back. Like, no, you have to perfect the client experience. You have to make sure that you're pouring into your clients and that they can feel the love and care that you have for them. So yeah, I just want to add that in as well. But I think that's it. I wanted to wrap it in. Our babysitter is about to be here. I feel like this is TMI, but I get horrible cramps, you guys. So I apologize if this episode I'm a little bit lower energy. But thank you so much for tuning in. We're 4 months away from the aesthetic experience. I'm so excited. So many of you have messaged us that you're also excited and ready for this big special day. We only have a limited amount of tickets left. So make sure you use my code SkinByYou50 to get $50 off and join us for brunch on Sunday as well. But thank you so much as always for your love and support. And we will see you in the next episode.